Hey everyone, Lonnie here. This week I'm going to finish up on the workbench in my series on creating shop space. When you're doing these projects, a lot of things tend to get displaced, or you've got to find a new home for them. In this case, I'm going to put some of my items right back where they are and organize them in a way where they're practical and easy to get to without just being piled on top of one another like these things have been in the past. Now, under this end of my workbench, I've kept a variety of things. Bench hooks, bench hook clamps, mallets, and a jig. All of it's been pretty much just piled right on top of each other underneath the workbench. Now, what I'm hoping to get accomplished before the end of the day is to have everything underneath the workbench, a nice shelf created so that I can just pull it out with ease and put it back without having to move it half a dozen things. Before I get started, I'm going to figure out just how I'm going to slide these in, what's going to go where. I already know this jig will rest on the bottom. I don't use it very much. While my big bench hooks will probably be closer to the top along with my mallets. I've got a sizable amount of space under here. I'm going to have everything kind of hugging down here just a little bit and just shelving coming up. I'm going to leave this place open here. My intent is to get some extra pieces I have piled in the top of the toolbox behind the workbench a new home, so I can just shut the top of that and move on. This time I'm going to cut my boards to approximately 3.5 centimeters in width. This should give me a little extra strength due to the fact that it's going to be a little wider and supporting some pretty good concentrated amounts of weight. I'm going to go ahead and cut them all, and then I'm going to use the jig at the very bottom to determine the width. Being as it is the widest piece and the least used, it will slide right to the bottom. Then I will just start literally determining the width of the shelving as I work my way up with the items I have. Now I've got enough slats to start my project. I'm going to start building the sides of this shelf and then work my way in and out from there, layer by layer going up. Now you might have noticed some of this wood is pretty rough. It is salvage wood from packing crates or pallets, one of the two. And you just kind of got to work with it. I'll cut out the bad spots and see if I can spot any warps before I get too far into the project. Excuse me. I've got a stop block set up at 52 inches, which is currently my longest cut. And I'm going to start with the longest, working my way down to the shortest. That way, if I happen to get lucky and create some usable pieces along the way without generating too much scrap, more power for the course. I'll line all these up, putting the worst ends, that one's going to be all by itself, but the worst ends on the scrap section, more usable or desirable wood down this end. I see here I've got one that has a small warp to it. I just got to work with that. Now, one thing that works really well when you're dealing with a lot of pieces of the same size is I write the measurements down on one end. They'll usually be either cut off or covered up when something's joined. Now, I prefer to use a pencil, but this is a utilitarian project and permanent marker just shows up better. Now, for time purposes, I'm going to use hot glue to just stick these together, and then I'll come back with brad nails to reinforce them. Once these are roughly square, I will mark, move along to the other side. 22 centimeters wide, so it's about 26 for the halfway mark. Very carefully. And same thing down here. Just centering it. I'll just, a little too much there. I'm going to have to be careful because I didn't lay down any hardboard. Gentle amount of pressure, hold it where you want. Make sure everything's lined up. You got a short amount of time, ouch, to make certain it's still square. Does not take long for hot glue to set up. And if I wanted to hide these numbers, I could just flip them on in. It's going to be under a table, nobody's going to see them, and honestly I forgot to flip them. When you get done, here's your up and down, and I will just start putting the other pieces on here as I need shelf height. Now this jig will sit on the very bottom. I need just a little clearance, not much. I'm going to use the boards I'm actually going to be making my shelf guides out of, or supports. Now I'm going to mark the top side of this. And just marking with like a letter B, you can write out the whole word, it don't matter where your bottom is, it'll just help keep you straight. We've done that on both pieces. I'm going to come up 17 centimeters and mark it. Do that on both boards. That will be the top where this board goes. I've got the first support for the bottom shelf, or second to the bottom shelf. These will slide in and the shelves go as such. Now these are built for particular items. The next item will be my small bench hook and my bench hook clamps. I'll do the same process as far as measuring the height, adjusting it up, and we'll see what we end up with for the final shelf. Now the final 50 centimeters is going to be the shelving that rests on the inside. Now there won't be one on the bottom, but I'm going to keep one or three down here actually, just to keep it square. What I've done is on the edge of my workbench, I've used two clamps just to hold everything upright. And I will probably do some adjusting. And just start layering my shelves on. This here, we'll just lay a light bead. Put the board in, make sure it's square. I was going to show the complete assembly in fast motion, but my battery went down and I was unaware when I was assembling it. I did use hot glue on the whole thing. I could go ahead and put brads in there, but I'm not worried about it. The final width was determined by the shelves, and I just worked back and forth on my way up to help keep everything square. Now it doesn't look like much. I'm not going to paint it. It's going to go under my workbench and simply hold my bench tools. Now, I've left the shelving with some gaps in it. There's nothing on the bottom. That'll help everything just simply fall through the bottom, dust-wise, and to make cleanup easier. I had some leftover 52-inch slats. I just put them across the very top for extra strength. Really, it doesn't amount to much. So let's go ahead and install this and see if it fits right. I'll just anchor that down, and it's good to go. Well, that's it for this video. My shelves for my workbench turned out pretty much the way I wanted them to. I'd love to have gone into more details on the construction of it. But when the battery goes dead and you don't catch it, you just lose it. But I appreciate you taking the time to watch. Please like and subscribe. And any and all comments are welcome. Thank you.